So for this section, we need 2 shades. We'll be using both the main color and the contrasting color for this section. This is what the prototype looks like, and I've got this beautiful texture of the stitches. So we're making the plaid section using the post stitches, and I've got 3 layers. So those are what we'll be doing. You need the 2 colors. You can go on board, use multiple colors, use more than 2 colors at a time. That is okay, but the beauty of the stitch comes out if you use more than a color. So I've used 2 colors, and we'll be using both my white and my other color for this project. So continue with the color that you use for your section 8. Will not have to fasten off our project. So we finished section 8 on the wrong side. So you turn, chain 1, and you start row 1 with a single crochet in each of the stitches across. So we start with the same color that we use for our section 8, which is this beautiful diamond waffle stitch. We'll be using that for the first few rows. So row 1, chain 1, and you work half double crochet in each of the stitches across. So I'll continue this until the end. At the end of the row, you should have 168 half double crochets. This is just a prototype, and I'm just making a little swatch, so mine won't definitely be up to 168. Perfect. So I've finished row 1. So we turn, and the next row, which is row 2, I'll still continue with purple color. You're using purple. The prototype is purple, so that's why I'm saying purple. I'll still continue with my color. That's jade that I'm using. Sorry about that. So I chain 2. This does not count as a stitch, and we'll be working in the 3rd loop. So just let me zoom up a bit. So this is the front loop, this is the back loop, but this loop in front of you, that's what we'll be using. I'm trying to make a beautiful braid, which should be on the right side. So this is the wrong side, and your right side is over here, and we're trying to create a beautiful loop, just a braid. This loop, that's what you're using. That's the front loop, but not the first. This is the first loop, and this is the back loop. So I have double crochet in each of the stitch across, but using the front loop. See that? So this is what we're hoping for. This is the braided look that I'm trying to create using that loop. If it's confusing, it won't affect the pattern. You can just go ahead and do half double crochet in each of the stitch across. See? This is the part where I am inserting my hook. Can you see that? That's the front loop. And then you've got this look on the other side. So we'll continue that throughout the row. Double crochet in each of the stitch using the first loop, which is not the front or the back loop. It's just at the base of the V stitches that the loops create. So just one more in case you're confused. This is the back loop, this is the front loop, and then this is what we're using. So there are like 3 loops, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so continue that, repeat until the end of the row. So I'm at the end of the row, and then the last stitch, it's okay to just work in a double crochet in the stitch. So this is what I've got. When we turn to the right side, this is what it looks like. Can you see the beautiful braided look? That's what we're hoping for. Perfect. This is our right side, and that is the only part that needs to be on the right side throughout this section. So let's get to working with 2 colors per row now. We'll go to row 3 and we'll start with that same color that you've been working with. In this case, that's my jade. So chain 2, and then I'll go ahead and work front post double crochet across all the stitches up. Scrap that. I'll say that again. So now, because I've got the little prototype, I will not be using the number of stitches that is in the pattern. So the main blanket has got 168 stitches. So I divided that into 7, and I've got 24 stitches each. So, and for this part, this section, I'll label it as a patch, and this is another patch. So a patch, a patch, a patch. So for each of the patches, you use different colors. So for patch 1, I'm using purple, and that's 24 stitches. Patch 2, I'm using white, that's 24 stitches. Patch 3, that's my purple, I'm using 24 stitches. So similar, the same number of stitches and the same stitch for each color. So if you look closely, this is front post double crochet. Okay, it's not really close to you. So for patch 1, which is my purple, I've used 24 stitches and they are all front post double crochet. If you come to patch 2, I've used white and they're all back post double crochet. So every part where I get to white, I'll use back post, front post. When I finish this first patch, do about 7 rows in all, I'll come to this and I'll interchange not only the color but the stitch. So throughout, all my purple will be in this shape and all my white will be of this similar stitch. Hope that makes sense. So back post, back post, back post. This as the smooth post, which is the front post double crochet, front post, front post, front post. Perfect. So if you've adjusted the number of your stitches, now is the time to do a quick math, divide it evenly. If you want bigger patches, you can divide to, even if you're using 168 stitches. If you want smaller patches, go ahead and do that. So for this, my prototype, I'll be using 8 stitches per patch. So front posts double crochet around the first 8 stitches, but for you it will be front post double crochet around the first 24 stitches. So front posts, one, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So for the 8th stitch, I will not complete it. I'll pick my new color. Just a minute. Perfect. So I've got my second color for the next patch, and I like to join the new color just before I finish the last stitch. So I'll go this way and pull through. Then I usually just make a knot or 2 just to secure these loops, and I'll drop the previous color. I'm not going to fasten it off because I'll continue to use it. So I've dropped my main color and I've picked white. Perfect. So because we've picked white and we're working through the next section of the patch, we did front post I'll be doing back post. This is how to do front post. So now I'm coming from the back around the post. So back post, double crochet across the next 8 stitches. So how many have I got? One more. So what we'll do next is to make sure that the next, that's for you 24 stitches. For me, my next stitch, which is the 8th one, I will not complete it, and then I'll join my next color. So here is the fun part. Because of the nature of the stitch, it's tricky to crochet over the yarn for all the rows. So my advice is to use different balls or wind some yarn into ball and use that. So I just make sure that my yarn are not crossing over each other. So I've got another yarn over here for my next patch. So I'll join that with a slip stitch to complete the second patch. So here we go. I hope that makes sense. You can go ahead and do yours using the same ball of yarn or however you prefer. I just like to use different balls. It makes it cleaner and neater. So front post with the new yarn, and you can crochet over this end. Makes the amount of sewing needed, it reduces it. So I do front post around the next, I'm doing 8 stitches, but you're doing 24 stitches for the main blanket. So front post, this is what you continue to repeat. So for this patch, I'll be doing front post using the jade and back post for this. 1 2 3 4 5 6. So when I get to 8, I'll switch to B and I'll continue that till the end of the row. So I've done my 4th color change, and this row is finishing with the white color. So you can do the last stitch as a front post or a back post, or just crochet into it. Either way, that won't really affect anything. So this is what I've got after this row. So you will notice that I've got my yarn running through each of the patches. This makes it super easy, and I don't have to sew in any hands as much as, and the yarn will not bleed through, apart from these ones that you've seen. So that will continue to be clean. Now, perfect. So the next thing is to turn. Remember, with just one more thing, we did front post, back post, front post, back post. Because I've got 4 on A, yours is likely going to finish, if you're doing 168 stitches with 24 stitches per patch, you'll finish with your main color, which is also a front post. So when you turn, you do the opposite of what you've done. So this is it. If you finish your row in the main color, which is a front post, when you turn, you'll be doing a back post. So this next row, which is row 4, is a repeat, but the reverse of what we did in row 3. So now I finished this section with a back post double crochet. When I turn this way, this is what it looks like. A front post looks like a front post over here. It looks like a front post, so I'll be doing front post, and then this will be back post. Make sense? You can see the written tutorial and it will guide you. So perfect. So I'll get to doing it now. Chain 2 at the beginning of the row. I'm not counting that as my stitch. Front post around the first stitch, and each of the remaining 24 stitches for you. That will be remaining 7 stitches for me because I'm using 8 patches. So this is what I've got. Perfect. And this is the last stitch. Halfway, and I'll stop, pick up my next color, and then I'll do back post because it was a front post that we did with this shade in row 3. So you do back post over the next patch, and then you repeat this throughout this row. So it does good to count your stitches so that you don't miss out on the last stitch. So I keep my unused yarn on the other hand, and then I complete it off. Because of this blade, I will just pass my hook into this loop and then crochet it like that. Makes my joining of the new color smoother. So let's continue that. Repeat using each of the colors, and this completes what we need for row 4. Row 5 and 6, we're going to repeat 3 and 4, and I'll do the repeats, add the remaining 3 rows, and we'll be back to show you what I've got. Perfect. So I've done row 5, 6 and 7, giving us 5 rows of the patches. So this is what I've got now. If you want to count, I count like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 5 rows. Now this is where the fun starts. The prototype, this is the part that we just completed. We need to interchange the yarns, the colors, such that we'll fasten off all the yarns now, and we'll have a purple with white. So white comes next and purple the next color. So we switch the colors. If you want to spice yours up, you can use totally different shades, whatever you feel works best for you. So now I'm going to fasten off my yarns and I'll join my color B. So I usually love to do that with the stitch not completed. So I'll get my scissors. So now for this part, I've got 2 so I'll be using my jade here, white, jade, white. So perfect. And then this also fasten off. Drop my scissors, pick jade, complete the last row with that, make a knot, perfect. Pick my white, join that to my, okay, no, I don't need to join. When I'm at that point, I can join. So I'll turn, and then we'll do the repeat all over again. So now we'll be starting with the next set of patches, chain 2, and because this is a front post over here, I'll be starting with my back post. So chain 2 does not count as a stitch. You can do double crochet in first stitch to make it easier. Then back post around the next 24 stitches. For me, that will be my next 8 stitches. So if you've got yours finishing with a back post, you'll be starting with a front post. Just make sure you're doing the reverse of what was in patch 1. So that finishes this first patch. I'll pick my next color, which is white, and then drop jade, and then I'll do front post double crochet. So front post. This is what I'll continue to repeat. Once I'm done with white, I'll drop white, pick jade, and do back post. So I'll do that, and we'll repeating all these to the end of the row. Can you see what it looks like? I'll be back to show you at the end of the row. So I finished row 8, and this is what it looks like. Just the interchange of the patches. So we'll go ahead and do the 9th row, which is just going to be chain 2. It's just going to be the same pattern. I'll go ahead and do my back posts around each of the stitches. So it's easier for me to do double crochet in the first stitch when I'm doing back posts. Then I'll go ahead to do back posts in each of the stitches. So because I've I cut the yarn, so I've got the projects looking unkempt. I'll deal with the ends as I crochet now. So I pick them. You see, I've crocheted with this end. I can make a knot, crochet with it again, and then I can then cut it off. So I'll pick the next color. I prefer to finish off with the new color. So this next part is going to be a front post double crochet. Perfect. So this is what it looks like after my row 8, and I want to point out that you need to check just to make sure that you've done the exact opposite of the first patch. So this looks like the back post, and this is the front post. This past front post, we've done the back post, back, we've done the front. So all white, front, 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 all the jade, back, 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 back. So if we reverse it, if I turn the project to the other side, it will be the opposite. This will be the back and this will be the front. I hope that's clear. So we'll go ahead to row 9 now, and I'll turn. So when I turn, I like to move my yarn. So white comes over there, jade comes underneath, and these two can just as well move over. Perfect. So it makes it much easier without having my project having any tangle. So the next row 9, I'll go ahead and chain 2. This starts as a back post, so I'll do double crochet in the first stitch, then I'll do back post in each of the stitches across until I've finished this patch. So basically it's just the repeat of what we did in patch 1, but you're just using the opposite of the stitches you used. So I want to make sure that I've got it. 1, 2, 3, one more. And then to finish off the stitch, I'll go drop that and pick my next color. A gentle tug just to make sure that it's not too tight. Front post around this next patch, and then I'll continue to repeat row 8 and 9 until row 12. So we need 5 rows per patch. So I'll do this repeat. When I'm done with row 9, row 10 will be a repeat of row 8, and row 11 will be a repeat of 9, 12 will repeat row 8, and I'll be back to show you. Perfect. So this is what I've got at the end of row 12. So I've done 5 rows for the second layer of the patches, and then we have our second patch all completed. Next thing to be done now is to fasten off all the yarns and interchange again. So we'll do that now. So we'll fasten off or cut the yarn, and then you're going to repeat what we had for this initial section, this section. So that's what we're doing now. You want to join your whites will be on top of this, the jade will be on here, white will be here, and then jade will be here. So we're repeating this row, this section, rows 13 through 17. What you do now is to repeat what we did in row 3 and 4. So turn, that's what we've got. Yeah, my project is so long. I'm putting it or wrapping it around my neck just to make sure that I'm able to do the video beautifully. So now we finished with white. We're going to join next shade, jade. So I like to complete the round with it. I'll just slip knot, make a knot, and then try as much as possible to knot to secure it. And then when I'm doing the edging, I just go ahead to crochet over it. So chain 2. So if you've got, this is the look of the back post. Now it means we'll be doing front post, and to cross check again, we did front post over here. So that's exactly what you'll be repeating. Front post over each of the stitch in this patch section using that same yarn. Front posts in each of the stitch across the 24 stitches that you've got on the blanket. I've only got 8, so I'll do front post around the next 7, 8 stitches, and when I get to the last stitch, I will not complete that. I'll drop that, pick my white, and complete the stitch with the white. You can make a knot. I prefer to crochet with it. Drop jade, and then back post around this next stitch. Pull just to make sure that there is no loose end. Perfect. Back post, double crochet all across, and then I won't complete that. I'll pick up my next color jade and complete this stitch. A gentle tug just to make sure that it's properly secured. So we're in the next section. I'll go ahead and do front post. You know, we just finished back post, so the next part is front post. I'm crocheting with this end. Yeah, a bit of tug, perfect, and we're good to go. front post. So this is what I'll continue to repeat. I'll join those two together and I can trim off the excess. Front post around each of the stitches in the patch, and then once we're done with this section, this is a repeat of row 3, you repeat row 4 until you've got 5 rows, 3 4 3 4, and then 3, and then you have 5 rows. So I'll be back to show you what mine looks like after 5 more rows to this. So this is what I've got after the completion of the 3rd patch. So this section is meant to measure 8 inches, and because my prototype has got 3 patches just like we have now, I'm going to make 3 patches now. So but if you measure depending on how your tension is, you might have up to 8 inches. If you're happy with that, you can stop. If you want one more patch, you repeat this section, which is row, just a minute, which is row 8 through 12. 5 more patches repeating this section if you want that. So I don't, and I'm going to complete section 9 over here and decide the color that you want to use for the last row, because I did a row of the main color jade. I'll be doing that to finish this row. So I'll fasten off all my yarn. Since I'm finishing off with white, that means I need to join my jade, fasten off and fasten off. So pick up the jade. So if you want to reduce the sewing that you need, you can just complete the with this white if that's what you've got. But because I just want to have something that rhymes with what I did at the beginning of the section, I'll be going with the same yarn color. So I've done that and want to go ahead now and do chain 1, turn. I'll go ahead and do half double crochet in each of the stitches across, and this completes this section. So this is what I've got at the end of this section. And as I said earlier on, you can repeat the patch, or you can have one more patch added to yours to have 8 inches. And if you're happy with this length, that's okay by me. Notice how I pick up the end and crocheting with it, pull it up. It makes it easier that I don't have to come over to sew it in. I just make sure it's secured and fasten it off. Oh, I switched to from half double crochet to double crochet. I didn't even notice that. It's so easy to get carried away. So I'm doing the last row in half double crochet, and this completes the sections for this stitch sampler blanket. I want to know what's your favorite section from 1 to 9. Because I designed the stitch, is a bit tricky for me to pick a section. I think I love all the sections. I'd like to know which part you've enjoyed the most, and also has there been any part that has been challenging, difficult for you to get grasp of? I'd like to know. Will you be interested in making another stitch sampler blanket? If you do, let me know what concepts you would like and we can work something out. Maybe make a fall theme, stitch sampler blanket, Christmas theme, winter theme, or another one for next year. Thank you so much for joining. The last section that I would need to do is the edging. It's been great having you around, crocheting these beautiful blankets together. Thank you.